Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee for August 23rd, 2023. I am Latricia Vita and I'm the chair of this committee. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call a roll so we can verify a quorum for this meeting.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Ellison.
Here.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Payne.
Present.
Chair Vita.
Present.
There are 6 members present.
Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. There are 4 items on today's consent agenda. Item 1 is accepting a grant from the DWI Court for a police liaison for DWI Defendant Monitoring Services. Item 2 is authorizing contracts with neighborhood organizations qualifying for the Neighborhoods 2020 Shared Resources and Collaborations Fund. Item 3 is amending council actions related to contracts with the Partnership Engagement Fund. And item 4 is accepting a grant from the UCare Foundation to pilot on-site substance use disorder groups for residents in 6 Minneapolis high-rises. Is there any discussion on these items? Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Vita. I just want to speak to item number 4, which is the grant from the UCare Foundation for Substance Use Disorders. Really was excited to see this agenda item come forward to our committee. It's very much a great way to bring both mental health and substance use disorder support resources directly to residents. Also, while reducing barriers towards access toward these extremely beneficial services. So I would love to see initiatives like this be expanded and would love to work with staff and our colleagues in figuring out pathways to do this because this is such a greatly needed resource in our city. So I just wanted to commend staff for continuing this work.
Thank you, Councilmember Wansley. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if someone from our partnership engagement area could speak to how do we measure success for these grants that we've been giving out? How do you determine success?
Welcome, Mr. Gallagher.
Good afternoon, committee members, chair, council member. So each piece of, I think we'll get into this, we got into it a little bit in our last presentation for the legislative directive for success for those contracts. We have a metrics, if you will, how many people are engaged, what were the results of that engagement, how do they connect with other community members, and so we're working out some more metrics with that, but there's also, we identified how many people are engaged per what is your return on investment in those dollars. So if you look at the number of households that are door knocked is like 10 to 1 when we look at other contracts, so they're engaging more people through that work. And also in events, how many people show up to those events comparatively to other contracts that we have, and we're seeing more attendance in those as well. And so we're collecting those numbers. We'll have an annual report that'll come out at the first of the year that will show all of the activities of those partnership engagement funds.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. It would be a lot easier when we do our budgeting if we had that report sooner than later.
Okay. Chair, council member, I'll work with our staff to get you some of the numbers as soon as we can.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And seeing no further discussion, I'm sorry, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Vita. I do recall, Steve, that you did give a thorough presentation on this. It might be helpful to refresh council members' memories on this. If you could forward that presentation link to this committee as well as the report that you gave. I think it did include those metrics, just so folks can get a refresher on information that you did present in prior months. So I just wanted to let folks know we did receive this information, and if you could send a follow-up email, that'd be great.
Thank you. Yes, I will.
Thank you. And seeing no further discussion, I will move approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. That carries and the consent agenda is approved. The next item is receiving a presentation from the Youth Coordinating Board and the Minneapolis Youth Cabinet, Youth Centered Work in Minneapolis. Here to present on this item is Deputy Commissioner of Health Heidi Ritchie and Ann DeGroot, Executive Director of the Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I will get the presentation up and then get started. Thank you, Chair Vita.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, committee members. My name is Heidi Ritchie. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Health Department, and I'm also co-chair of the Youth Cabinet. With me, I have Karen Moe, the Director of Neighborhood and Community Relations, who is my co-chair on the Youth Cabinet. We have Ann DeGroot, the Executive Director of the Youth Coordinating Board, Sarah Sheely with the Youth Development and Sexual Health Coordinator with the Health Department, Stephanie Graves, Manager of Maternal Child Adolescent Health in the Health Department, Rachel Oberg-Hauser, the Project Director for the Youth Coordinating Board, Leo Geronimo, Strategic Planning Specialist for the Youth Coordinating Board, Min Lee, Communications Associate for the Youth Coordinating Board, Karen Scheel, Caitlin Maxwell Glenn, Community Relations Specialist. And I don't know Karen's title, but she does a million things, including works in elections. But she's been helping us with the Youth Cabinet and with the Youth Coordinating Board. So she's been really important to this work. All right. Youth in Minneapolis, our equity profile, you can see the picture here has a number of statistics. Our total population of youth in the city of Minneapolis is 85,422, which is 20% of the population. 37% are ages 5 to 18, and there's a majority minority of our youth with 33% Black, 17% Hispanic, 7.5% multiple races, 1% American Indian, and 35% white. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an update to the City Council on the city's youth-centered work and investments, specifically the Youth Cabinet, Child-Friendly Cities Initiative, and the Youth Coordinating Board and Youth Congress. The goals of the presentation are to clarify for the City Council the various things going on with children and youth and how they are related to each other, relay to the City Council the concerns that youth have identified as their top priorities and worries, identify the ways in which Council can support youth through events, priority issues, and resource investments, and then to lay out next steps. I believe you've been provided a one-pager which has some of this information in it. If not, we can get that to you as well. I also wanted to acknowledge some of the work that other departments do in regards to our youth. With the fire department, we have the Fire Explorers program. We've got a partnership with social studies teachers in our elections department. CPED, we've got Step Up, Civil Rights, Urban Scholars, the health department, we've talked a little bit about, but we've got our maternal child adolescent health, and then our green careers pathways, and then neighborhood safety. We've got the youth group violence intervention, Inspiring Youth, and our youth violence prevention program area. And for police, we've got our new youth outreach efforts, the PALS program, and additional pathways. That's not an exhaustive list, it's just a few that I wanted to call out to show how a lot of the youth stuff lives in many departments, and there's not really a centralized location for the work. Which brings us to the youth-centered work in Minneapolis, focusing on CFCI. CFCI stands for the Child-Friendly Cities Initiative. This initiative is UNICEF USA, and it brings together local stakeholders to establish a safer, more just, equitable, inclusive, and child-responsive city and communities around the world. We have a local action plan as we are a candidate and seeking designation as a child-friendly city. Our local action plan includes emergency management and preparedness, youth voice in decision-making, community safety, and child rights education and awareness. In terms of a timeline, in February of 2020, Mayor Frey signed the MOU with UNICEF USA to become a CFCI pilot city. In August of 2020, UNICEF USA launched the CFCI US, and Minneapolis was one of 6 pilot cities. In November of 2021, Mayor Frey declared November 20th the World Youth and Children Rights Day in Minneapolis. In the fall of 2022, we completed our local action plan. In February of 2023, we had a big kickoff. Chair Vita was there, as well as the mayor and others. where we were recognized by UNICEF as a candidate city. In the fall of 2023, we are planning a convening with partners and UNICEF USA staff. And then in February of next year, 2024, the local action plan and evaluation should be completed, and we anticipate receiving full CFCI recognition. Our youth-centered work that we do with the Youth Cabinet, we have a couple different things there. The vision and the purpose of the Youth Cabinet is that the city will be a national model where all youth can flourish, reach their potential, and become long-term contributing residents. The Youth Cabinet was started in the coordinator's office way back under Stephen Bosacker. The Youth Cabinet is where the enterprise learns together, coordinates with each other to align our work, uses our collective influence, and invests in specific strategies to reach the city's goals. The Youth Cabinet is a mayoral cabinet made up of department heads and staff. Over the last year or two, the number of changes around the city, the level of participation has varied from department head participation to no departmental participation. Of course, that has a lot to do with the pandemic and some other things that have been going on in the city. Over the next year, co-chairs, myself and Karen Moe, will be working with you to make sure we have good representation in all departments as well as with the department heads. The Youth Cabinet tracks all of the city's program that impact or prioritize young people or to identify gaps in service for young people, coordinating with the Youth Coordinating Board, and working to identify investments made in young people as well as those gaps. While all city departments and offices can and should prioritize young people, the Youth Cabinet creates a space for multi-department efforts to be shared, piloted, and collaborated upon. The Youth Cabinet can be a resource for all departments or programs that want to prioritize young people. One of the events that we have coming up, which we hope will get participation from you all, is Youth Day at City Hall. So through our elections department and the partnership I mentioned earlier, we're leveraging our relationships with the Minneapolis Public Schools social studies teachers to hone in on a date that will work best for the teachers and students. So stay tuned for that date and more information. In addition, we are working with IT to see about developing a website where we can house all of the city's youth investments and activities. As I mentioned, there's really no department that owns this work, and so the Youth Cabinet is the entity that is this centralized kind of repository and collective community of those that work at the city that are working on youth investment activities. I talked about CFCI a little bit earlier, and I mentioned some of the image on the right. We are currently implementing the image on the right is the CFCI candidate city kickoff in February that I mentioned earlier. So you can see Saray, who used to be the co-chair, is up there with Karen Moe. We had the mayor there, and we had the president of UNICEF USA, who just happens to live in Minnesota, so we have a little bit of an in with him. And then on the left, this is the process for the city to become a child-friendly city, and we're currently implementing that local action plan that I mentioned earlier, as well as monitoring and evaluating the progress that we're making on that local action plan. Well, this is not going to work, but this is a video that we have from our CFCI event. It's a Minneapolis Youth Congress video, and it's just a couple of our Youth Congress members speaking about what it means to be on the Youth Congress and to have a voice as youth. At this point in the presentation, I'm going to turn it over to Ann DeGroot, who's the Executive Director of the Youth Coordinating Board, to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Heidi. Good afternoon, council members, chairperson, and members of the committee. It's good to be here with you today. The last photo, I just wanted to point out that one of those young women is here, Ridwan, who is sitting right there. I'm calling you out. Ridwan's been with the Minneapolis Youth Congress for a long time. She's been an urban scholar the last 2 years and is now working with elections. So we're really glad to have Ridwan here. The other young woman is, yes. The other young woman is Giselle. Many of you know the Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board. We've been around since 1985. We're the oldest intergovernmental organization in the United States that advocates for children and young people. We're a joint powers body that brings together the City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and the Minneapolis Public School Board. We really are here to help coordinate activities between those 4 entities on behalf of children and young people. We do policy development. We coordinate, a lot of times we coordinate the adults working with children and young people, and we try to do collective action between our 4 different jurisdictions and bodies. We had the opportunity a few years ago to be able to redistribute some ARPA funding, $1 million worth of funds, to 4 different organizations in the Twin Cities to help them work with young people through some after-school funding. And we also did some this year on some, we redistributed $50,000 to do some summer funding, and very happy to do that, and we're very successful. 3 summer programs received funding because of that. We established about 5 years ago a youth master plan, which you can find on our website. It is meant as a youth master plan to help guide the work of the entire city of Minneapolis for everyone. We did an extensive amount of work with our Minneapolis Youth Congress to find out what the interests and needs and concerns of young people were in Minneapolis, to help to define priorities and to help people understand what the kinds of things that young people were looking at were. And I'll talk about a couple of those in a few minutes. The Minneapolis Youth Congress in 2007, I almost said 1985, but in 2007, we established the Minneapolis Youth Congress. And it was established by a resolution of the board of the Minneapolis Youth Congress, and it was agreed to by our 4 public jurisdictions. And the Minneapolis Youth Congress is a group of young people, grades 8 through 12, who help us understand the perspectives of young people in our city. And it is also a way for young people to be involved in the civic dialogue and to participate in public change in our city. We usually have somewhere between 30 and 50 young people in our group. We pay them, we make sure they get fed, we make sure they get safely transported back and forth, and we train them to help work with us. They have been an incredibly helpful group of young people in a great deal of the work that we do. And I think I need to go to their page right there. And Ridwan has been one of our members, but we have a number of our young people who have gone on to do great things in our city. And the Youth Congress is a group that we use a lot with a number of the projects that you've seen. The Child Friendly Cities Initiative, for example, and others. So you'll see this later, but I will say, please come to the swearing-in ceremony in early November where young people come, and the presiding judge of juvenile court comes, and the young people raise their hands, and they take an oath of office. And they serve with us until the end of the school year. So please join us. We are also recruiting right now, so if you know of any young people in those grades who might want to have an activity in which they learn about civic government, please ask them to come. This is a chart that talks about some of the youth-centered work in Minneapolis. You can see the YCB at the top, our 4 jurisdictions, the 4 areas that we work in. We really have kind of 3 lines of business: early childhood, after school, and youth development. Our youth development work includes, as you can see on the left there, the Minneapolis Youth Congress and the outreach team that we support. And then you can see some of the common values and projects that we all share. The youth cabinets there on the right, child-friendly cities there on the left, and then the different things that the city of Minneapolis does. And this is hopefully a helpful kind of cheat sheet for you to know about what the different investments are for children and youth in the city of Minneapolis. I often get asked, what do young people say? What are they interested in? What are the things they're concerned about? And they're concerned about honestly, anything and everything. But the top things that come through are these. Young people are concerned about mental health, particularly mental health of themselves and their peers. They know that things need more attention, and they know that they need more resources. So their own mental health is of a concern to them. The Youth Coordinating Board has been involved in doing some training of youth work professionals around mental health first aid, and that we hope will be helpful for our young people. This summer, our urban scholars have been doing some focus groups around public safety, and you will be hearing a report on that sometime this fall. But young people are concerned about public safety. They're concerned about getting to and from school safely. They're concerned about being out in public safely. They're concerned about their public safety in many ways, and you'll hear more about that this year. They're concerned about substance abuse, as you can imagine. They're concerned about what's happening with their own peers. They're concerned about what's happening on the street who are using substances and feeling unsafe. And they're really concerned about climate change. And obviously, you can see that is something that they would be concerned about and are interested in making an impact in that area as well. So those are some of the things that our young people are saying. And it sounds like we can't hear from them directly, but we can send you these tapes to hear from our young people about the areas that they're concerned in directly. So, and I think I'm sending you back to Heidi.
Thank you, Anne. All right, so we're nearing the end. We wanted to sort of wrap up with some opportunities that you can all engage in for supporting our youth, including supporting the youth cabinet work that we have here at the city. A couple things with that is Youth Day at City Hall, which I mentioned earlier, and I'll get a date to you all when we have that. And then just the budget. We don't have a budget as a youth cabinet, and so some of the activities that we want to coordinate, things like Youth Day at City Hall, we were able to put a little bit of money from some charitable gambling proceeds to help us pull off Youth Day at City Hall this year. But just an eye toward what whenever you're looking at budgetary items, just thinking about what does this mean for youth. Obviously, youth don't have a real seat at the table because they're under 18, they can't serve in elected office, but just having that lens. And then, so yeah, centering our youth in conversations on the priority issues that that Anne mentioned: mental health, safety, substance use, and climate change, and understanding that these issues are things that our youth are concerned about, and they want to see their voice represented in conversations where these topics come up. Let's see. I think that's it on that. Our next steps, we will be undertaking the preparations for the Youth Day at City Hall. We will continue to track and monitor the city's youth investments. We've collected information from all of the departments on their youth investment and youth-related activities. We hope, like I said earlier, to have a website where the information and also resources for our youth can live in a central location with the city. We are, again, moving toward our official CFCI designation and hope to have that early in 2024. And then, as Anne mentioned, joining the 2023-24 Youth Congress class at their oath of office in early November. And I'm sure Anne will send details of that when she has them. That wraps up our presentation, and we can all stand for questions. Thank you, Council Chair Vita and council members.
Thank you for the presentation, and I would go to my colleagues to ask, is there any discussion on it? Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Vita. Director Ritchie. Interested in especially scheduling of these presentations, and maybe you, Mike, can be helpful in this too, and getting a sense of when we could have the Youth Congress themselves come before this body and have students or youth talk about some of the policy parameters that you laid out of like what they're interested in seeing happen around substance abuse, being able to directly communicate with them and have them in this space. I know summer is when students are out. I know council members have brought students in during the summer too to try to involve folks in policy. So just figuring out ways in which we can do that even in these council meeting settings.
Councilmember, thanks. That's a great question. We love to have the young people come. They have been at City Council before, and they're always a hit. I love to have them come and speak with you. They are being recruited right now. They start their training in October. They're sworn in November. And so I would say a good time to start seeing them might be January, February, March timeline. And I will speak with them about coming sometime this winter, spring, about coming to see you and talk about the things that are important to them and some of the things that they're interested in hearing more about. But yes, we can make those arrangements.
And can you remind me again, you said early November is when the 2023-2024 class will be approved?
They will be approved more like in October. They
October.
start meeting in mid-October. But we actually do a big ceremonial swearing in, which is a lot of fun. I hope you can come.
Yeah, I would say also something, especially since you mentioned the budget piece, and this is something our office worked with students, because I believe my ward has the highest density of students, at least between 18 to 24 out of all of the wards. But we worked very closely with the University of Minnesota and a number of student groups to have them participate in the budget process. There's a really clear way, especially since budget meetings are happening in the evening, where students can talk about the ways in which they would like to see these priorities be supported, especially, as you mentioned, if there's infrastructure needs around additional operating dollars. There's another direct opportunity to talk about the work that they've been able to do, inviting past alum, and to have council members hear directly from them, where we can put our money where our mouth is. So knowing that that's happening right in the square or beginning of the budget, season is a really good opportunity to activate youth in one of the most critical roles that we have as city council members in holding the purse of the city. So something to share too, and would more than welcome, collaboration around that of meeting with youth who are involved with YCB to really advance budget discussions.
Thank you, Councilmember. That's a great opportunity, and we can help get the word out.
Thank you, Councilmember Wansley. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious what you can tell me about what the youth, what we can learn from the youth about substance abuse, how it impacts them. Is this, them personally, their families, the neighborhoods? Can you give me a preview?
Yeah, Councilmember, thank you for the question. I think that we can learn a number of different things from them. We can learn about what they know about what is happening in their peer group about the use of substance abuse. They can tell you about that. And the other thing that is coming up a little bit, and I don't want us to preview this too much because you'll be getting a report, but they can also tell you the effect of other people's substance use on their safety. And that's...
If I can just interrupt. The safety of the youth or the safety of the people using the substance?
Safety of the youth.
Okay.
So as they're waiting for a bus to go to school, someone who's using can risk their safety or make them afraid. What is that like for them being on a street and have somebody who's drunk or using kind of being out there and creating an unsafe environment for them? So they can talk about it from that perspective as well. But so from kind of both perspectives, talking about what that looks like to them in their peer group and in their schools, but also what it looks like in the community to them as a young person.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. And I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. I've had opportunities to talk to the young people of the Youth Coordinating Board, and what you presented to us aligns with exactly what they've said to me directly, especially around the substance abuse, safety, climate change. And so I'm happy to see that I'm happy to see that here today, because that's exactly what I heard. And I think you're right that we need to make sure we create opportunities for them to actually have a seat at the table and not just say we want them to. You all have access to some very powerful young people, and they know what they want. They know how they want to be represented in the city. They understand that government should work for them. So I applaud you on representing them today and their voices and the young people who are here with us today. Thank you so much for being here. I just saw my two nephews walk in. One, the 5-year-old, texted me and said, "Do you want to visit?" And he's here today. And so I want them to feel like they have a voice at the city of Minneapolis too. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and I just want to again acknowledge the team that does this work every day, and thank them for being here to support us in the audience. So thank you, council members.
Thank you. And I'll direct the clerk to receive and file this presentation. And as I said, my nephews are here. Jai Sean and Juwan Vang Vital just stopped by to visit really quick. Thank you, nephews. They're so adorable. We're going to move on to the next presentation. The next item is receiving an update relating to a legislative directive concerning finance and allocations of neighborhood programming. Here to present on this item is Stephen Gallagher from Neighborhood Community Relations. Welcome, Mr. Gallagher. And I know this is your second time kind of sort of presenting on this, but thank you for all the time and details you've put into these presentations.
Good afternoon, committee members, council members. I appreciate the invitation back. This is the second piece of the legislative directive that was passed back in the budget piece. If you remember, it was a receive and file 2022A-0828. The legislative directive identified different areas that would like to be covered. This is the financial aspect of the legislative directive, and we came back after the mayor released his proposed budget in case there was any questions as it related to that. And if we look at the, this was a programmatic and budgetary analysis, and NCR was guided to conduct this internal review and to provide recommendations for consideration. This legislative directive had a lot of aspects to it. And in order to research the basis for the legislative directive, again, we distilled this down into multiple parts. And before I get started, I do want to really thank, there was about 25 city staff, department heads, staff members, and then also in other governmental entities. When you looked at Hennepin County, the Park Board, School Board, we all kind of got together and worked on potential solutions or potential ways that we could work together even further. So when we look at this legislative directive, it doesn't really show the background information that was done with all of the other partners. And I just want to acknowledge that we appreciate them working with us when it comes to working with neighborhood organizations. And another piece was to look at the budget aspect about what kind of recommendations or analysis of the different funding mechanisms that could be implemented in 2024. And then lastly is the cost analysis of the Neighborhood Network Fund, and then what kind of costs and pieces can be split between the Neighborhood Network Fund and the Equitable Engagement Fund. And we'll get more into these pieces here in a second. I would like to bring you to the typical cost of a neighborhood organization. And when we did these different pieces, we conducted research through one-on-one interviews with neighborhoods, reviewing 990s with the IRS, State Attorney General reports, Secretary of State's data. Additionally, we gleaned information from the annual reports that neighborhoods send to us. And what we've come up with is once you've seen one neighborhood, you've seen one neighborhood. There's different neighborhoods rely on different priorities with their own operations. We have some that are all volunteer run, and they put all of their money into the community, into partnerships. We have other neighborhood organizations that really see a value in having dedicated staff that are working within their neighborhood. So this was a tough one. When we looked at the typical costs, we outlined all of the all of the mandatory pieces that every nonprofit in the state of Minnesota has to comply with. Those are like the Attorney General's reporting, auditing, board meetings, general liability insurance, and there's a huge range here between $4,085 for just organizations that have all of volunteer staff member, or all volunteers, compared to around $15,000 for more of a robust organization. Now, this does not include staff. That's kind of the different factor in here about different neighborhoods have different staffing requirements. So I just wanted to point that out. And then we talk about the requirements for the city. In the legislative directive, it talked about a lot of requirements for the city that we asked neighborhoods to conduct. Once we looked into that, however, I do want to point out that all of the requirements that we require for neighborhood organizations are also required for all nonprofits in the state of Minnesota. We require 3 additional pieces, and that's board term limits to make sure that there's an influx of new folks and engaging new members, a fundraising plan that we ask neighborhood organizations to submit to NCR, and those could be a plan of how to gain more money through fees for service, through contracts with different entities, and then some just say that they will only operate under the amount of money that the city of Minneapolis comes with. Currently, all neighborhood organizations are in compliance with our Neighbors 2020, except for one. There's one neighborhood organizations where the board kind of just went away, and they're working with NCR with a single individual to try to prop that neighborhood back up to have a neighborhood organization. We're hoping by October, November, by the end of the year, that we'll be able to help that neighborhood start up a new neighborhood organization. So we'll have complete coverage throughout the city. Then we'll go to the next one. So the funding, so neighborhood programs over the years have had various funding programs or methods from the city to administer these programs, including general fund, non-city direct allocations, and meaning with that is the county might contract with Harrison neighborhood around the Blue Line. And so they have non-city direct allocations for contracts. Consolidated TIF, which we call the NRP, as you remember, the sunset back in 2001 after a 20-year program. And then we started up another consolidated TIF, if you will, and that was back with R.T. Rybeck was the mayor, where we took 50% of the TIF district area, and we certified at 50%, and then 50% of that was to go to the Target Center debt, and the other half were to go to neighborhood organizations. Well, that sunset here in, I believe it was 2019, and so that's where we're at right now. I'll say that some neighborhoods who, when looking at the funds for service model, some neighborhoods will have an opportunity for more work depending on where the city here, as well as our other funding partners, the county, park board, school board, where they invest their resources. So it might be in a specific areas within the city of Minneapolis, and it won't be even or spread out within all of the organizations. However, we look at if there was more funding for neighborhood organizations, would they be able to also then access more funding outside of the city if they had the capacity? And so if that makes sense. So if we invest into, let's say, staffing, is that staff able to look at other funding mechanisms for their own organizations or for the board? We have started some discussions with other funders around the city. And I'll give an example is the Good Neighborhood Award or Good Neighbor Fund, which is around the stadium. They actually copied our equitable engagement program so they're utilizing our requirements for their own funding mechanism or funders, which is really exciting. And it shows that the work that we're doing is actually helping to influence other funders across the city and what they expect. And what's nice in this piece is that the Good Neighbor Fund will allow a neighborhood that's been recognized by the city and going through our process to apply for them with no questions asked. There's no need for accounting, or not accounting, but there's no need for like auditing of their program because we take care of that internally. We're able to leverage our funds across different areas. And then lastly, I talk about just everything that we're doing is based within the equity focus, both in our program guidelines and our allocation methods, and then our expectations from neighborhoods with our equitable engagement fund or program, if you will. So when those come in, we really try to take a look at who's historically been underrepresented in both neighborhoods and within city government, and how can we engage those communities together to really strengthen both neighborhood organizations and the city. I feel like the relationship that neighborhoods have with their residents and with their community really reflects back into the city, and how we're able to, as a city, access that human capital within neighborhood organizations back into our operations. And then I would just go into a summary of actions here. So we will be requesting the NRP Policy Board to remove the 70% housing expenditure policy. That will come probably in February or March, but first what we'll have to do is work with the city clerk and city attorney's office to update the NRP city ordinance, which will show an election procedure, which also have districts which are the same as the park board and school board districts, with two at-large folks. That's been through kind of a lengthy process, and one of your colleagues will be sponsoring the ordinance change soon, and that'll kick off the 2-month process. We've also connected with internal IGR, internal government relations, to look at allowing the having the state legislature allow for public officials to designate a representative on the NRP Policy Board. Currently, the only member of the policy board that is able to designate someone is the mayor's office. So all of the other elected officials have to be in attendance in order to have a quorum, and sometimes that could be hard to do. So we asked for a modification with that. And then lastly, we'll be asking the policy board to appoint 4 neighborhood representatives, until which time the election can occur, which will happen after the NRP ordinance is updated. And so we're expecting that will be February 17th at the Community Connections Conference, where that will occur. And that's what I have, and I stand for questions. I'm sure there will be quite a few. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and I see that Vice Chair Payne has questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I saw in the mayor's recommended budget an increase of that base funding from 10,000 to 15,000. Am I getting that number right? That's independent of any other changes to the partnership engagement fund or any of the other funds, right?
Yes, Chair, Council Member, from what I understand, the mayor increased the Neighborhood Network Fund to $15,000 from $10,000. That would be dedicated to the Neighborhood Network Fund. So you're correct with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Payne. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Administrative costs plus staffing costs make a neighborhood operational. And I appreciate your work here. I appreciate that you had said the administrative need for neighborhoods is $15,000, but that does not include staff. So could you help us understand how neighborhoods are supposed to pay for their staff in an organized network of neighborhood organizations?
Sure. Chair, Council Member, Council Vice President, that's an excellent question, and that's one that we really tried to research quite a bit. Neighborhood organizations, some pay their staff $16, $17 an hour. all the way up to $90 an hour. So there's not the range is so great with that it's tough for our team to say this is the amount that's needed for staff. I will say that NCR is considering like refinements to the allocation model based on lessons learned, and any refinements of those will be within the scope of guidelines with an equity lens, and then in accordance with the council's approved formula before. I think we'll develop that, but we need to have more of a clarity around the budget numbers prior.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
As Councilmember Payne mentioned, the mayor proposed a $5,000 increase to base funding that covers what you've identified as the minimum, right, without staff. I wonder if there's a way to increase the equitable engagement fund, the outreach allocation, to allow the smaller groups to still do the work that's expected of them by the city and by NCR. If the intent is for them to be able to use those equitable engagement funds, that's a huge range, right? What you mentioned. So some get less than $2,000 per year, and that makes it very hard for them to hire or contract with staff at that amount, at $2,000 per year. I appreciate all this work, and I appreciate what the mayor has proposed in an increase here. We can't continue to starve neighborhood associations, and yet I recognize that we need to find a way to do this within the existing budget of how much we spend overall on neighborhoods. So thank you for your work. And I still think we have a staffing problem from a neighborhood perspective. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve, I'm just off the top of your head, Director Gallagher, excuse me.
Manager, sorry, Councilmember.
How are the neighborhood merger discussions going? I know over on the east side of town, there were 4 that were talking and it kind of didn't work out. Any other progress on other neighborhoods merging?
Chair, Councilmember, I think you're talking about the Four Corners collaboration on the northeast, where one neighborhood dropped out. The 3 other neighborhoods are continuing that discussion and planning on going through with the merger. With the other organizations, I believe there's, I think we'll see some movement when it comes to 2 in Mid-South that they'll look at merging. I don't know if I should.
You don't have to tip them off.
Okay, all right.
Tell me, is it working?
Yes, I believe it's working. I think, I'll be honest with you, I believe that we made a mistake in the beginning, where I believe that we should have done is waited a year prior to putting out the Shared Research and Collaboration Fund and set that up over a year period, and then had the money come forward at that point. I think when we started it out, there was a lot of questions about what the future of funding of neighborhoods, what does that really mean? So I think we were a year early, but we are seeing some results from those that are in the second and the third year coming out. That fund is not scheduled to be renewed from the original guidelines. And so this 2023 was the last year of the Shared Resource Collaboration Fund.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. I want to say thank you again for this presentation, and I share similar concerns as Councilmember Palmisano. We're grateful that the mayor did include additional funds in the budget, but we need more. Our neighborhoods need more. This is one of the topics that comes up almost daily on the north side from all of the neighborhood groups, the amount of just base funding they need to operate and to have staff in place. So my office, of course, will be working with you all to see what kind of adjustments we can make to this, because we have to have our neighborhood groups functioning. You know, it's just necessary for a lot of the work that we are expecting communities to do. And so thank you for the presentation, part 2. And of course, we'll stay in touch about how we move forward. Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Vital. Manager Gallagher. From the last presentation, I remember you all laid out a couple of recommendations on how we could approach funding if we were trying to get at that $20,000 base. And just trying to recap off, you did mention one pathway was just new additional dollars, which from my understanding, that was the infusion that Mayor Fry took as an approach to get to the 15. You also mentioned we could do basically we would have to raise above the 6.2 levy that we just also approved. So we're looking at, again, adding additional costs beyond that 6.2 levy percentage that I know some of my colleagues have already stressed is too much on working class people, but that would be another pathway, and that is through additional revenue. And then the third, which was around the equity component, we will be looking at taking dollars from the most diverse neighborhood associations in the most diverse neighborhoods in order to reach a base funding or that universal base funding, which kind of goes against the grain of the recommendations that came from Neighborhoods 2020. So I remember there was a couple of pathways that is included in the report in case colleagues still wants to marinate on some of those, one of which the mayor seems like they took up. The other would be increasing levy to reach those additional levels of new spending, so above that 6.2%, or taking from our predominantly Black and brown neighborhood associations and those NPR or NRP dollars and rerouting them. So those are the pathways that I thought was clearly laid out in that report. Please correct me if I'm wrong, especially as folks are thinking of like budgetary next steps on how we reach that $20,000, which I think has been the figure that's been thrown out there.
Chair, Councilmember, I believe that your recollection of the previous legislative directive is correct.
Okay.
I'm not a budget office person, so I can't talk about another increase of $840,000 would result in blank amount per neighborhood organization. As I talked about before, we are looking at the allocation model, not the. We're looking at the allocation model and see how we can make some adjustment to ensure equity and ensure that there's funds with the neighborhoods in the most need, while also assisting with the neighborhoods that receive $1,000 on the Equitable Engagement Fund. We're working through that. We do need a little bit more information where it comes from the budget process. But I think we have a really good start on that. I can tell you internally we've developed multiple models just for discussion purposes to see what those look like. And so I think what we'll probably end up doing is reaching out to all of the council members, see if we can have a one-on-one meeting and we can talk these even more before the budget process.
Awesome. Just wanted to make sure a base level understanding that you did lay out those funding pathways as we're going into those deliberations. Okay. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and seeing no further business before us, I will declare this meeting adjourned.